Hello and welcome to homework 8.03. This one is all about the distributive property and what we call double distribution. All right, so here we have a binomial times a binomial, and what we're going to do is we're going to distribute out both of these pieces to both of these pieces over here. You almost have to think about it like you're doing two separate problems. You're doing r times r plus 5, and then you're doing 4 times r plus 5. We're just doing both of these, but we're doing it all at once instead of kind of breaking it down into two separate problems. Like there's the r, there's the 4, there's the 4. This is what we're doing. We're just doing it all at once. All right? So I kind of like to use the arcs and use that as my checklist. So the first thing I'm doing is r times r. Remember, when we multiply letters, we're adding the exponents. So that's really an r to the first times r to the first, which is going to give us r squared. Next, I'm going to do r times 5 and get 5r. Then I'm going to follow that up with 4 times r and get 4r. And then I'm going to finish it off with a 4 times 5 and get a positive 20. Now, I've got r squared plus 5r plus 4r plus 20. These are like terms, so I combine the 5r and the 4r, and I end up with r squared plus 9r plus 20. And that would be my final answer. Okay. Just note, I'm not going to check every one of these, but these can be checked on your calculator. You would go to y equals. Instead of using r, you would use x. So I would type in x plus 4 parentheses and then x plus 5 and close my parentheses. So I'm basically putting the problem into y1. Into y2, I'm putting my answer, which was x squared plus 9r. But again, I'm using an x plus 20. Once I have that in there, I would go to second graph to bring up the table. And you're going to see that y1 and y2 match in every instance. 20, 30, 42, 20, 30, 42, and it keeps going. As long as those columns match, you know you did it correctly. And again, I'm not going to check every one of these, but I did want to show that. All right, let's take a look at number 2. So again, we're going to start with x times x. As we said, that's x to the first, so we get x squared. Then we're going to do x times 8 and get positive 8x. We're going to do negative 3 times x and get negative 3x. And then we're going to do negative 3 times negative 8 and get a minus 24. Our middle two terms here are like terms, so we can combine those. And we get x squared plus 5x minus 24. All right. Now, as we work through this sheet, the numbers are going to change. Sometimes there's things in front of the x's. Sometimes the numbers and the letters are in different orders. But the procedure stays the same every single time. So here, I'm doing 3x times x. Now again, remember, this is really a 1x to the first. So 3 times 1 is 3. And x to the first times x to the first is x squared. Then I have a 3x times negative 5. That's going to give us a negative 15x. I have a 10 times x, or 10 times 1x. That's just going to be 10x. And then a 10 times negative 5 is going to be negative 50. I combine my like terms and just make sure you're paying attention to the signs. This is a negative 15 plus 10. So when I combine those, it's going to be negative 5x minus 50. Okay. Moving on to number 4. All right, this time you're seeing the numbers are coming first and the letters are in the back, but ultimately that doesn't really change anything. We're still following the same procedure. All right, we do 6 times 4 and get 24. We do 6 times x and get a positive 6x. We do negative x times 4 and get a minus 4x. And then we do negative x times x. And remember, x to the first, that's going to give us a minus x squared. All right, we'll combine our like terms. We get 24 plus 2x minus x squared. And then if you want to write this in what's called standard form, we could move the x squared to the front, so that's a negative x squared plus 2x plus 24. All right, either one of those is fine. All right, let's take a look at number 5 here. It's another one of those where we have the numbers in front. So again, we just keep doing it. It's just distribution over and over and over again. 9 times 8 is 72. 9 times x is 9x. X times 8 is 8x. And then x times x, we should be kind of getting comfortable with this, is x squared. We're going to combine our like terms. We get 17x plus x squared. And then again, if you want to rewrite that so the x squared comes first, it would just become x squared plus 17x plus 72. Okay? All right, last one on the front here. And I hope at this point you're seeing that every single one of these is the same. We're using different numbers, there's different signs, but the procedure is the same every time. So 2x times 3x, well 2 times 3 is 6, x times x is x squared. 2x times negative 8 is going to be minus 16x. Negative 1 times 3x is going to be minus 3x. Negative 1 times negative 8 is going to be positive 8. All right, so the biggest thing you really just have to watch for is making sure you do your calculations correctly, making sure you're paying attention to your signs. For example, in this one, you have to make sure that you realize this is negative 16 minus 3, which is actually going to give us a minus 19x plus 8. All right, let's take a look at the back because there are some differences on the back. All right, number 7. Let's go through the same procedure. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times minus x is minus 5x. X times 5 is plus 5x. And x times negative x, remember x to the first is going to be minus an x squared. Now what makes this one a little unusual is that these middle two terms are actually going to cancel each other out. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0, so we're left with 25 minus x squared. And again, if you wanted to rewrite that, you could write it as negative x squared plus 25. Either of those would be totally fine. All right, let's take a look at number 8, because I would say number 8 is the one that gets goofed up the most. All right, kids see this square and they're not quite sure what to do. They're like, oh, do I just square this and just square this? Unfortunately, it's not that easy. What you have to remember is something like 7 squared is 7 times 7. Something like x squared is x times x. So something like 3x minus 2 squared is 3x minus 2 times 3x minus 2. Now we have to go through and do the double distribution that we've been doing all homework long. So we would do 3x times 3x and get 9x squared, 3x times negative 2 and get negative 6x, negative 2 times 3x and get negative 6x, and then negative 2 times negative 2, which is a positive 4. All right, so you got to be careful because a lot of kids forget to write it out like this and then they end up with the wrong answer. The second place where you can make a mistake is right here. A lot of kids see this and say, oh, 6 minus 6, they cancel out. Again, not quite. This is negative 6 minus 6, so that's actually going to give us a minus 12x plus 4. All right. So that brings us to the final and the longest problem of the homework. All right, so this time we have a binomial times a trinomial. Thankfully, the procedure is going to be pretty much exactly the same. We just have to do more of it. All right, we're going to take this first term and we're going to distribute it. X to the first times x squared is going to be x to the third because we add the exponents. X to the first times 2x, again to the first, you can write those ones in there, is going to be plus 2x squared. And then x times 9 is just going to be 9x. All right, so that's our first kind of set of distribution. Now we go underneath and do the same thing again. So negative 3 times x squared is minus 3x squared. Negative 3 times 2x is minus 6x. Negative 3 times 9 is a minus 27. So we've got more terms, so we have more things to combine. All right, here we have x squareds that we can combine, and here we have just regular x's that we combine. There's nothing to combine with the x cubed. There's nothing to combine with the 27. So the x cubed is going to come right down. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. So you can either write that as minus x squared, or if you want to put the 1 in there, that's also correct. Either one of those is fine. 9 minus 6 is going to be a positive 3x. And then again, there's nothing to combine with the 27, so we can bring that right down. And again, these longer ones, you can check the same way we checked the one at the very beginning. All right, it's going to take a little longer to type in, but still, parentheses x minus 3, and then parentheses x squared plus 2x plus 9, close the parentheses, and then down below our answer was x to the third minus 1x plus 3x minus 27. All right, so I've got the problem up here in y1, I've got my answer down here in y2, and when I go to the table, you're going to see that they match all the way across. All right, every single one of those matches, which show, whoa, they're not matching. Did I type something in wrong? Let's take a look. All right, x minus 3, x squared plus 2x plus 9, that's good. And then down here I have x cubed, oh, there it is. I typed in minus 1x, and it should have been minus 1x squared. So let's change that. All right, we're going to put in an x squared. So now it's x cubed minus 1x squared. Let's see, plus 3x minus 27. So x cubed minus 1x squared plus 3x minus 27. Now we're going to look, and they do match all the way across. Negative 27, negative 24, negative 17, 0, 33, 88, 171. All right, so that's something to keep in mind. Like sometimes if your answer doesn't check, you have to check both places. You have to make sure you typed it into the calculator right, and then you have to go back and actually check to see whether you made a mistake on your sheet. All right, that is all for today. I hope this was helpful, and have a good night. Bye.